Hello and welcome to another episode of Beyond BITS, the podcast by the Student Alumni Relations Cell of BITS Goa. I'm Ansh. I'm a part of SARC's crew. Today we're honored to have a truly inspiring guest with us, Siddharth Pillai, a graduate of BITS Pilani Goa's batch of 2009 and co-founder of the Mime Club. Siddharth has achieved remarkable milestones since his time here. From earning an MPhil from the University of Cambridge as a Commonwealth Scholar to being the 2024 Study UK Alumni Awards winner for social action. He now leads Street Child in Afghanistan, working to ensure education for over 60,000 out of school children. Welcome, sir, and congratulations on all your incredible achievements. We can't wait to dive into your journey. And for the listeners, do you want to introduce yourself? Let us know where you're joining in from.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Ansh, for that introduction, and thanks for having me here. Yeah, as you said, my name is Siddharth, and I'm basically from Kerala. 2005 P1 PS 753G, and I pursued chemical engineering at BITS, and I think we can continue with the introduction as we move along. Otherwise, it would go on for some time. Then, so that's the basics basically.
Sure, sir. To kick things off, you're from the 2005 batch, which is the second batch of the campus. So your batch played a pretty major role in establishing all the fests, and we know that you've co-founded the Mime Club. So what was that process like? How was your time in college?
Yeah, so I think a bulk of my time other than academics was mostly focusing on in the Mime Club,
Hmm.
and it was fun to be part of the Mime Club. So we happened to start the club during Ganesh Chaturthi. I think it was Ganesh Chaturthi festival,
Hmm.
and we came up with a mime which clicked with the audience, and subsequently we decided to form the club, and subsequently we went ahead, and it turned out to be a relatively successful club during my tenure at BITS, and I think subsequently I also met some of the club members in the subsequent years. I hope it continues to remain the same.
You mentioned you were preparing for UPSC. How did that go? Because I don't think you ended up pursuing that.
Yeah. So yeah, post my engineering, I joined a pharmaceutical company called Biocon. So I
Hmm.
did my practice school too at Biocon in Bangalore. It's a biopharmaceutical company, uh, and um, uh, and I thought I would be able to manage both work as well as UPSC preparation at the same time. I tried a little bit, but didn't work out. Then left my job and started basically preparing for it for UPSC full time. And
Hmm.
I gave two serious attempts and reached till interview in the second attempt,
That's awesome.
and it was during my preparation. There was a fellowship called Prime Minister's Rural Development Fellowship, which was instituted by the Government of India, which
Hmm.
expects young professionals to work in insurgency affected areas, or
Hmm.
basically Maoist affected areas. So I applied for that fellowship, got through it, and subsequently I got posted in the Bastar division of Chhattisgarh, where I was
Hmm.
working with the district administration, and that was basically my stepping stone to into the development sector. So yeah, because I didn't want to quit civil service and go back to the corporate sector, because that would
Right.
kind of go against the very basic principles for which I wanted to join the civil services. Obviously, you can do social service different ways, but my way of doing it was basically being in the development sector as a full-time professional, and fortunately the fellowship happened to help me to remain in the sector.
Our college looks forward to Mime Club's performance at every fest. And I think that's the club which gets the most hype. So I think the legacy that you have and that you've laid for this college is incredible. Everyone loves the Mime Club. I have a few friends who pull all nighters just for the club, and it always pays off. It's always awesome.
Oh, that's yeah, very happy to hear that. So during our times, we used to mostly pick up issues which were very relevant
Hmm.
to the college. Like at times, we used to pick up issues related to how bad the mess food is, and it used to like strike a chord with the audience. There were issues related to placements. It was the first few years of the college, so people were quite worried about how placements will pan out vis-a-vis how placements pan out in Pilani and other campuses. So we used to touch on such issues which were of relevance to them, and subsequently there was a transition to kind of awe-inspiring mimes, where used to have a lot of tech and light shows along with
Right.
mimes and all, right? So
Yeah.
and that was a very good transition which was happening in, I think, 2009 2010. Yeah, so I think theme if you look at thematic areas, there was slight transition happening in the 2005 2009 phase, and I hope that such like healthy transitions are continuing to happen in Mime Club right
It
now.
has continued. They've done light shows and shadow shows. It's been a lot of fun. Have you had the
Yes.
opportunity to view any of their recent performances?
No, no, no. I would be love to see that if they are on
I
YouTube or
think you
something.
can on YouTube, yes.
Oh, nice.
Yes. And now we'll jump into a few rapid fire questions. You can give us like two, 3 word answers. And are you ready? I'll just ask them one
Yes,
by one. Yes.
sure.
What's the one thing you would bring from your BITS days into your current life?
Well, I think it's exaggerating a situation and finding what you call fun in it.
Right.
Exaggeration, basically, I think.
Awesome.
Exaggeration and happiness, yeah.
Yes,
And
awesome.
that's basically from the Mind Club, I think.
And one person who inspires you in your field?
In my field, and that's not relevant to bits, right?
No, not necessarily.
Benjamin Piper, he heads the education practice at Gates Foundation. So he really inspires me. Yeah.
That's awesome. And one thing you wish more people knew about Afghanistan?
Okay, so there are so a lot of people think that the girls' education has been completely banned in Afghanistan, which is not the case. So you still have the option, you still have the space to continue education until grade 6. So the ban on education is only after grade 7.
Right.
Yeah, so that's something which people, I think, people should know. Practitioners from my space would definitely know it, but general people have this feeling that it is completely banned, which is not the case.
I see. And have you worked in Afghanistan? And if yes, what's the most unexpected skill you've picked up there?
Oh, uh, so it's very important to collaborate with people who are ideologically opposed to you, and that's something when you're working in the development space you have to take care of. It's very also very important to ensure that there are early wins for the other party with whom we are negotiating with.
Right.
If you make life very difficult for the other party whom we are negotiating with, there's chance of a great deadlock. So when you're engaging with folks from the non-state armed group, or basically the Taliban,
Mm-hmm.
they are not as stubborn as the external media tries to portray. There are folks who are willing to listen to you, and who may provide you some operating space to work in.
That's nice to
So
hear.
that's a skill which I think I've gotten from. Basically, when you're engaging with Taliban, who is fundamentally against girls' education,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and you still have to negotiate with them. So when you do it on a day-to-day basis, you pick up that skill.
Right. I see. And what's a misconception people usually have about your job?
Yeah, that I am running around in war fields, like trying to save myself from bombs. Yeah, that's something which people perceive, that I am right in the front line, saving
Right.
myself from bullets. That's not the case.
Okay, that's actually one of the misconceptions I had as well.
Yeah,
If you could, please describe your BITS experience in 3 words.
chill, chill, chill. I think that's it.
That's awesome. That
Yeah.
is awesome. You did a few internships at places like the Synthetic Chemistry Department at IIT Kanpur and the Food Engineering Department at the Central Food Technological Research Institute. And how were those experiences?
Oh, CFTRI was a practice school one. It was
Yes.
a PS1 center, right? So I was pursuing chemical engineering during my bits. So I wanted to do a PS1 also in a space which is aligned to my discipline. It was a pretty good experience, and I think one it all boils down to who is going to be your PS1 mentor or instructor
Right.
at the PS1 center. And I happen to have a very friendly and very good instructor. His name is
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Uday Shankar.
I see.
It was a very fruitful PS1, and even though it was the PS1 duration is short, I was able to come up with a research paper which got published and all, which was very satisfying experience
Mm-hmm.
for me, even though it didn't have any what you call ramifications on my future career. But yeah, someone who would like to pursue uh, like if someone is from disciplines like chemical engineering, mechanical engineering, I
Mm-hmm.
there are merits in even choosing a PS1 center which strictly falls in your discipline. That's my take on it. The other internship I think was in my third year, which was
Right.
part of Indian Academy of Sciences fellowship. So
Interesting.
third year is you do not have a practice school, right? So
Mm-hmm. Yes.
you have the option of pursuing an internship on your own. So that fellowship, I think it's still there, Indian Academy of Sciences fellowship. So you can reach out to them, and they will basically cover the cost of your fellowship, and you can do one of your internship in one of the premier research institutes. So there you have a host of IITs and Institute of Science and like Raman Research Institute. I think a lot of
Yeah.
research institutes are there
Right.
which are part of this fellowship, and you get to select a couple of them, and based on your luck, you might get the one which you put as your top preference. So that didn't go so well, again primarily because the my supervisor wasn't that great. It
I
was
see.
not such a great experience there.
Right.
But yeah, overall, I think those experiences were good, Ansh.
And your first PS1, you mentioned you wrote a paper. So do you remember what the paper was about?
Oh, it was basically extracting a particular chemical from cigarette butts. So
Okay.
the
Interesting.
when you smoke a cigarette, you are basically indirectly filtering out one particular substance which gets stuck in the filter of the cigarette butt,
Uh-huh.
right? And that particular substance is a substance which is uh, relevant for the pharmaceutical sector. So we did
Interesting.
a yeah, it was like a proof of concept. Not I don't think it could have been taken to scale, but
Mm-hmm.
it was a proof of concept that something relevant can be extracted from cigarette. But further we were not able to pursue it uh, later because it was a shorter internship at that time.
That does sound very interesting. And considering you found this experience satisfactory, did you see yourself pursuing chemical engineering further into the future back then? Or were you
No.
sure that you wanted to do something else?
In the first year itself, I had started preparing for civil services, and
Right.
so I was very clear
Okay.
on that. So in the first year, I was spending a lot of time preparing for civil services, because of which my CG dropped to 6.4 or something,
Ah.
and that scared me a little bit. And then I thought that okay, let's keep the civil services preparation aside for some time, and then
Mm-hmm.
I thought that I'll focus on my studies, and I was also interested in the discipline which I belong to. So and
Mm-hmm.
then the second year, third year, I found myself doing all of this, and there was some. I went to some technical festivals at IIT Bombay, Kharagpur, won awards, and that further motivated to me to pursue my chemical engineering. But looking at the larger picture, I was clear that I may not be working in the chemical engineering space for a long time, and I will shift to the development sector. So that's how things were then.
Okay, that's interesting. You mentioned technical fest. Do you have any like cool memories of the fests in Goa? Because your batch started it. If Wave, Squawk.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Waves and Korg, it was quite a long time back.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I remember there were teams coming from BITS Dubai to attend the Matka festival. You still have Matka there, where you have online what you call those competitions.
Yes, we do
The
actually. Yes,
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
we do have
yeah, it was fascinating to know that those folks are coming
it.
from abroad, and there were what you call. So I don't remember exactly right now, but yeah, it was a very very great experience, and
Hmm.
having all those colleges from Goa as well as from colleges from Delhi and all coming, it was a very unique experience for us, and the fact that we were able to put waves on the in the national map was itself very
Yeah,
inspiring, considering that Pilani has been doing it for quite some time. We were able to do it in a very few years. That was very inspiring for us.
I see. That's awesome. We recently had my first race at least, and I had the time of my life too. It was a lot of fun, and we found something else which we found very interesting. You slowly shifted from engineering to social development, which is a very big change. So, how did you navigate that switch? What decisions did you make? Did it feel like a leap of faith which you had to make? Were there any doubts?
I think a lot of people in my space did make that transition after engineering, but like for me, I had already thought about it in my first year at BITS that I would like to make a switch to civil services. And when it didn't happen, the moving into the development space was something which was coming naturally to me. But of course, there was this uncertainty that okay, I am a graduate from an engineering college, definitely a premier engineering college, but I don't have any prior experience in the development sector
I see.
other than my what you call desire to be in this space, and the knowledge that I had gained during my UPSC preparation. So, and these were the only two things which I had when I entered the interview for the Prime Minister's Rural Development
Mm-hmm.
Fellowship. And that I think the fact that I did my graduation from BITS
Mm-hmm.
would have definitely played a role, along with the knowledge which I had gained during my UPSC preparation. But in that phase, when you are preparing for UPSC and you haven't cleared it, and you are still wondering what needs to be done next, it's
Mm-hmm.
definitely a period of uncertainty.
Of course.
Um, and there's no doubt about it. But yeah, that's something which I would like to tell anyone who would want to make a shift into the
Mm-hmm.
development sector after engineering. There are a lot of options which I wasn't aware of, and the fact that you have come from one of the top universities in India is definitely going to help you make a relatively smoother transition into that
Right.
uh, space. You hold a lot of technical skills which are very much relevant to the development sector, like skills related to data science, for example. I'm sure that there are many courses which are being run at BITS right now, which are development sector
Yes.
oriented, right? So yeah, one doesn't have to be so much worried that it would be it's going to be a back to square one when you are
Mm-hmm.
trying to enter the development sector. That's not the case. Definitely fellowships. Watching out for fellowships. A lot of state governments have come up with fellowships where they're
I see.
specifically looking for folks from colleges like IIT, BITS, and all, right. So
Mm-hmm.
because the tech skills which you guys bring to the sector has definitely is of great value, and
Right.
that's something which I would definitely recommend
Mm-hmm.
to fellow Bitsians. And yeah, making a transition sooner would be helpful, because as you proceed, your years of experience is definitely going to count.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I strongly suggest people to not spend a lot of years preparing for UPSC and then
Mm-hmm.
trying to make a switch. It's better to I feel it's from it's my opinion. Others may have a different opinion, but I feel that it's better to give a couple of attempts, and if you're unsuccessful, um, uh, make a transition. If you're still
Right.
interested in the development sector, make a quicker transition to development sector than do it at a later stage. And the development sector is equally satisfying, if not more, than the
Mm-hmm.
civil services,
I see.
because you get to work. Not just in India, you have the option of working in the international development space
Mm-hmm.
as well, and work in areas which are some of the most difficult to operate, which
Yeah.
for me is a huge source of excitement and inspiration to work in some of the toughest locations of the world.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very very satisfying experience. So it's not like it's a game over once you don't get UPSC.
Right.
Which at my time I definitely felt that I didn't have a plan B at that time. I only
Mm-hmm.
had a plan A. But
Mm-hmm.
fortunately, when my second attempt was going on, I got to know about this fellowship, and that's how things worked out for me. I didn't have this plan B, but I would like to tell any aspirant from BITS
Mm-hmm.
that should have this plan B, and plan B is as solid as plan B
Planning.
and plan A in terms of satisfaction.
And you mentioned that you got to know about the fellowship. Were there any of your batchmates who also took this opportunity or who wanted to pursue social services or UPSC?
Yeah. So I think the maximum number of people in the Prime Minister's Rural Development Fellowship. It's one of the most elite fellowships which the UPA government had started,
Mm-hmm.
but subsequently it was dropped. So there are only two batches. So I was the second batch,
I
and
see.
subsequently, based on this fellowship, a lot of other state governments, Haryana, I think
Mm-hmm.
a couple of governments in the south also have started similar fellowships.
Mm-hmm.
So in my batch, the largest number of fellows were from BITS, from
Bastar.
Pilani and Goa together. So more than the idea. So some of them were my juniors, some of them were my seniors.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I had a fellow Bitsian from Pilani in Dantewada, just to the
Oh,
south of mine. So
awesome.
yeah, yeah.
And around the same time, you pursued your master's in philosophy from the Tata Institute of Social Sciences. And what made you take that decision? What was that like?
Yeah, so that the fellowship was basically had was being hosted at the Tata Institute of Social
I
Sciences.
see.
So
Right.
all fellows were by default master's students of this as well. So it was basically run in a hybrid fashion where you are
Mm-hmm.
basically working on the ground, but in every few months you had to complete some assignments after reading some material. There were also some kind of what you call offline sessions as well for us.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so that's how it was. So it was not pursued individually by me. I happened to be a
Right.
by default student of this.
So it was a hybrid thing.
Yes,
And
yes, exactly.
how is it to work on the education, livelihood, and health projects of that environment through this fellowship? What did you learn?
Okay, so I was posted in Bastar,
Mm-hmm.
uh, which at that time, and I continues to be one of the areas which is affected by left wing insurgency. So there's a huge what you call trust gap between the government and the community
Mm-hmm.
in those areas, and I presume that's the case still as well. So the role of the fellows was to basically bridge this trust gap by trying to identify the needs of the community and see whether those needs can be linked to any government schemes, whether it is the government of India schemes or the
Mm-hmm.
government of Chhattisgarh schemes. So you are basically trying to find out through your field trips what exactly is the need of the community. Then coming back to the district office, engaging with the departments, the district collector, the
Mm-hmm.
CO Zilla Panchayat, and try to understand what are the challenges which the people are facing in terms of accessing those services, and trying to find ways and means to ensure that the government is basically serving the needs of the people. So it was an area where there is already a trust deficit. So things are
Mm-hmm.
not going to be smooth. Not many government officials are not very keen to work in insurgency affected areas. They would prefer to
Mm-hmm.
stay to be promoted or be transferred to more accessible and more urban places like closer to the capital city, right? So you are also working with a set of people who are low on motivation, low on capacity, whose
Right.
capacity needs to be built, right? So and also you are a fellow who is known to be close to the collector and
Mm-hmm.
who is known to be close to the IAS officers. And so that again brings a power dynamics there, where some of the departments would be very much uh, willing to listen to you, but some
Mm-hmm.
of the departments will think that you are trying to mess up the equation, your equations, their equations with the district collector,
Right.
and will show restraint in collaborating with you. So in these fellowships, you happen to get a really good stipend. So we used to get somewhere around 75,000,
Oh,
which was great for a development
right.
practitioner just entering the space.
Mm-hmm.
And many of the department heads never used to get those salaries. So we used to be called 75,000 walas
Ah.
across the state, by the department officials, because they found it to be very uncomfortable working with
Mm-hmm.
newbies who are being paid extremely well by the
Well,
government
yes.
of India. So you have to work in this in this dynamics, and you
Mm-hmm.
are also working in an area which is known uh, for violent acts by both by the state as well as non-state armed groups. So
Mm-hmm.
you're going to the field, yeah, uh, you're not in for trouble, but should always be on your watch. So it was a very exciting time, and we had the option we had the I had the opportunity to work with some really good collectors,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and run some education technology interventions
That's awesome.
in Kanker, specifically for teachers. So we are not running education technology interventions for children, but specifically to build the capacity of teachers, because teachers who are being placed there were often volunteer teachers. There was scarcity of teachers who are physics teachers were being asked to teach history, or teachers
I
who are
see.
history teachers are being asked to teach chemistry because there's no chemistry teacher in that particular
Mm-hmm.
school. So we had built an education technology intervention where a history teacher could go through some training material, subject specific training
Mm-hmm.
material, and build their capacity in teaching a subject which they themselves are not very competent. And once they have subject command, they would be able to have an improved teaching practice and thereby improve learning outcome. So that was one of the projects where I spent my maximum time implementing during those 3 years. And other than that, I did work in some of the other sectors, which my collector wanted me to. So I'm
Right.
still in touch with my district collector, and I think that
That's
fellowship
awesome.
did help me to make make it very clear to me that I want to work in the education in emergency space,
Mm-hmm.
and which basically led me to pursue my masters from Cambridge. So
I see.
definitely, anyone who would want to pursue international development
Mm-hmm.
fellowship, going through a fellowship will definitely help you get opportunities to study in some of the best schools in the world with full scholarship as well. So don't hesitate to work in some of the toughest areas in India, because those are the areas where you can make it very very clear to the party who is sitting next to you that your intentions are very clear as to why you are in
Mm-hmm.
this sector. If you restrict yourself to Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, Madras, and sitting
Mm-hmm.
in plush offices and making presentations, it would be a little bit difficult for you
Right.
to make a case for scholarships when if you are trying
Mm-hmm.
to apply to universities abroad, especially specifically in the development sector. That's my opinion, but there would be various pathways to reach the same goal. But my
Mm-hmm.
understanding and opinion is this. Ansh.
So like that must have been an awesome on ground experience for you. And do you think there was any sense of cultural shock when you first started working there? Because that's not something everyone sees on a daily basis. That genuine problems, like people not being able to study, not being able to get an ambulance or healthcare. And how do you think that affected you? How do you think you dealt with that, and what did that teach you?
Oh, so yeah, so the shock is something which yeah, every day of the 3 year fellowship, in some way or other, you would definitely have a shock. For example, the bare necessary things which are supposed to be in the community. Coming from
Mm-hmm.
Kerala, I was expecting that some things are non-negotiables and they would be definitely there, and
Mm-hmm.
that wasn't the case. I've seen uh, I've seen places which are like one teacher handling six classes in Rengavahi in Kankir. There's one teacher and he was responsible for six classes. So when he's in teaching in one class, all the
Mm-hmm.
other six classes, the children are just sitting and either reading or they are just doing whatever they want to, right? So
Mm-hmm.
and you have other schools which are closer to the city where there are more teachers than the classes
Students.
allocated, right? Because yeah, so people use their connections to for valid reasons as well. No one wants to be in an area which is like extremely deprived and remote, right? So people
Yes.
use their contacts to make sure that they are closer to urban areas.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, and again, exploitation at a very high level where you will see hostel superintendents being are having are placing the children in their own centers. They are delegating them work, like basically making them work as child labor. So
Right.
when going on inspection visits, you will see that children of a residential school are breaking cashew kernels to get the cashew out,
That's sad.
using bricks during the school time, because
Mm-hmm.
the hostel superintendent happened to be a cashew trader as well, right? So
Mm-hmm.
so he would just delegate that work to the children and would be making money out of it. So
Mm-hmm.
extreme exploitations you would see, the indifference of the bureaucracy, not the
Mm-hmm.
entire bureaucracy, but definitely certain bureaucrats. You would definitely see a lot of indifference, even when they are appraised about the ground realities after a
Mm-hmm.
few visits. So um,
Yeah.
that's something which you would learn the hard way. So yeah, so that also helped me understand that building state capacity, right? If you're working to bring any sustainable system level changes, or if you want to perform at the system level, you'll have to deal with these things. So it's not going to be a sprint. It's going to be a marathon when you are trying to build system level capacity, because you're going to engage with these kinds of stakeholders who are not completely attuned to what needs to be done to take this system from one level to another.
Right. You mentioned a lot of power dynamics, a lot of exploitation. So, how do you go about solving problems like that, getting politicians on board, making sure that everyone's happy and that nothing wrong is being done? So, how did that process go about?
Yeah, so it basically it's you have, when you're trying to bring any change in such a space, um, you have to basically see if there is any change for space for change, right? So if when you're trying to look for a space for change, you have to see whether there is three things. One is whether there is a political authorization, as in has the political executive authorized that change to happen. How much of a deviation is the political authorities willing to accept and willing to support? That's first one. And second is there ability within the system to implement that change? Third is whether the system is willing to accept that change. So you have authorization, ability, and acceptance. We call it the AAA analysis. So if you have authorization, ability, and acceptance for any particular thing, right, you start with that, and that's basically would be most probably the lowest hanging fruit there, right? So and once you build on that and you are able to deliver on that, that brings more confidence to the political executive or the bureaucracy or the community that okay, a change in the system is possible, and then all the three entities may authorize the next change. So it's going to be a iterative approach which is generally taken here. And yeah, it's a difficult thing. It's not going to be a completely linear change process. There's a lot of going to be pushbacks from different people. There will be also pro-reform bureaucrats who will be able to facilitate um, uh, facilitate the process, right? So
Right.
you will see that however hard the context is,
Mm-hmm.
you will always find a space for change.
That
It might be a small change, but that's the entry point for you, which you should leverage.
I think that's a very nice thing to hear and say. And during this time, how do you think your day went? What was the day in the life? Like, what were the facilities you had, and how did your day go through?
So here, like at in the during my fellowship in Bastar, it was mostly you would spend most of your time at Zilla Panchayat, or you would be on the field. So
Mm-hmm.
so Zilla Panchayat is basically like a typical government office, and you would be working with your fellow PMIDF there. And you would be doing your work. Either it would be a desk-based work if you have the collector or the CEO Zilla Panchayat has assigned some work to you to analyze some data or to create a concept note which needs to be submitted to the government, things like that. Or you will be conducting trainings at Zilla Panchayat because some field level workers or field level supervisors have come to the district collectorate for training. Or you might be hitting the field, which is the best experience which fellows can have, where you would be going to the field trying to monitor how the education interventions are ongoing, meeting the different frontline service providers. It would be a spot check or it might be a scheduled visit, and then reporting back to coming back and reporting to the collector. So if you're going on a field, you are running short on fuel. So the government doesn't have a lot of fuel for you to make spot checks. And also when a field visit has been approved, you go early in the morning and come late in the evening. So you try to cover as many schools or health centers or panchayats as possible, so that you can extract the maximum out of the fuel which has been allocated to you.
Right.
So and the rule of thumb is that you whenever you get food, you eat as much as possible, because when you're
Mm-hmm.
getting the field in an affected area, you don't have restaurants or even dhabas at
Yeah,
every
yeah.
other place, right? So whenever you get food, you just stuff your stomach as much as possible, and hope that you will hit the next dhaba when you are feeling hungry. Another thing, when you are going to Naxal affected areas, if it is in area completely under their control, you make sure that the Maoists or the Naxals are made aware that you are going to be there, right? Through some interlocutors or whoever is there. Like for example, if you are going to visit a school in a Maoist affected area, you call the principal or the whoever is the cluster
Right.
coordinator and tell them about this. And they will inform them, and they will also ask the why this person is coming. And
Mm-hmm.
if your intentions are not political and you're just there to understand if the services are being provided, generally those folks, they don't have a problem. Yeah, it's important to make those visits known to them, especially if
Mm-hmm.
you're on the development sector, because you don't want to be in a place where they get surprised as to why this guy um, is here. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So
I'll stop here, Ansh. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, this entire experience must have been like very like concrete for you. And I think moving on to your next biggest thing, your masters in Cambridge. So what was that like? What was Cambridge like? How was it in London? And
Yeah, so the reason why I went to Cambridge was basically after PMRDF, I was very clear that I would like to work in the education and emergency space, and I had made a lot of applications in different countries, and in East Africa, in Central Asia, in West Asia, and all of those places I was getting rejects. And one of the reasons was that I didn't have a degree in education. Some of the agencies, they don't want a degree specifically in education, but if you look at the likes of UNICEF and others, some of the other agencies, they would want a post graduation from in education. So that basically led me to think that if I do a MPhil or a master's in education from a good university, I might be able to work in the education and emergency space. So
Mhm.
uh, uh, ma- even though Bastar region is considered to be a sensitive region. Like if you're looking at globally, it's not considered to be a fragile and conflict affected place,
Right.
because you look at the likes of Afghanistan or Palestine, right? There, compared to that, it's just a low intensity conflict area. So you can't use your experience in Bastar and use that as a what you call as your strength to serve in Afghanistan, right? It's a
Mm.
totally different dynamics
Right.
there, right? So, so that was not working out for me. And then I thought, okay, let me finish my education at Cambridge and then
Mm-hmm.
apply to these places. But again, that also didn't work out. So I'll come to that later. So Cambridge was a very good experience.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, a develop. So there are two perspectives here. If you're going to Cambridge as someone who has worked on in the field and you're pursuing masters in education, you need to be clear as to what exactly you're going there for, right? So
Mm.
if you are trying, the masters is not going to provide all the solutions to all the technical challenges which you have been facing on the field. Those challenges are wicked in nature, and if
Mm-hmm.
universities already knew those solutions, the world would have been already a good place, right? So they will just provide you with some perspectives, frameworks,
Mm-hmm.
which will help you think in a more rational and a more what do you call logical way to approach problems which are in the development sector. So I thought that it would also help me understand some of the solutions to problems which I faced in Bastar, but
Right.
that Cambridge didn't provide me those solutions. I went with the wrong expect one of the wrong expectation,
Okay.
that it would provide me solutions to the problems which I had been facing
Mm.
in the field. But it definitely gave me some perspectives. And fortunately, some of the research work which I did in Cambridge, I was able to operationalize it in Afghanistan. So my research thesis focused on something called as structured pedagogy programs, which
Mm-hmm.
I was able to implement in Afghanistan for about 60,000 children. I was fortunate enough to do that. There were
Mm-hmm.
some enabling factors in Afghanistan which helped me do that. The Yeah, in Cambridge, you most of the time I was spending researching for my thesis.
Mm-hmm.
The professors there are extremely busy. They are busy with their own research, which are
Yeah.
being funded by diverse organizations. So they will have only limited time for you to during lectures, and
Correct.
most of the other time you were like doing your research and
Mm-hmm.
your studies on your own. But we had a very diverse cohort. I
Mm-hmm.
think were around 26 children students in my batch, and they were from 19 countries. So
Wow.
it was wonderful. Again, a suggestion here for fellow BITSians, anyone who wants to pursue, make sure that if you're pursuing any courses like this, you are have a full scholarship, or you have a sizable scholarship, because
Mm-hmm.
the sector doesn't pay you so high that you would be able to quickly repay some of the loans
I
which you
see.
might be taking for it, right?
Right.
And I would not suggest anyone that if the course is not so great that
Mm-hmm.
you will make an immediate switch to one of the international organizations. It's not
Mm-hmm.
going to be so easy. So I had to take some unpaid internships in Afghanistan before I could jump into the
Oh wow.
international development space. Right.
Okay.
So I thought that it would be easy, but it wasn't. So yeah, wouldn't suggest anyone to pursue, because I had gone on full scholarship, so I was relatively chill about getting a job.
Mm-hmm.
So that helped me to take more risk in Afghanistan. Had I taken a loan, I would have to come back and to take another job in India, and
Right.
then I might not have gone to Afghanistan at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are some of the things which perhaps fellow Bitsins may want to take note of if they are planning to take something similar in the future.
Yeah. Awesome. You mentioned Afghanistan. How did you first hear about the job at the Ministry of Education or the internships?
Oh, there was no job.
Right.
So what happened was, like right after 4 or 5 months after Cambridge, I had started applying for a lot of organizations
Mm-hmm.
in Africa and Asia in the education and emergency space, and I wasn't getting any interview calls. So then I had started applying for paid internships,
Okay.
and that also didn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the time the course had come to an end and I was back in India, and I started applying, I started writing unsolicited emails to folks in different countries.
Right.
And one of them happened to be the chief of staff at the Ministry of Education in Afghanistan.
Wow.
So I just wrote an email that I would like to do an internship with the Education Emergencies Office of Ministry of Education, and they said I said I'll bear all the expenses, including accommodation and travel and all. And I had fortunately saved some money from my Commonwealth scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
And I went there with the intention that once I am in Afghanistan and I work with the ministry, then and from there, if I start applying for roles in Afghanistan, I would be a better place candidate.
Yes.
Imagine someone sitting in India who has a degree at Cambridge or whichever college and has no
Right.
experience in Afghanistan. No NGO, however qualified you would be interested in bringing you into Afghanistan,
Fair
right?
enough.
So that's a what you call that's a challenge which you face once you're trying to break into a new space.
Mm-hmm.
And that hope and help worked for me. And
Mm-hmm.
once I was working with the ministry, COVID hit, and then started writing a lot of blogs about the work which I'm doing, and
Uh-huh.
I used to send those blogs to some of the potential recruiters, and one of them happened to be Street Child, and that's how I entered the space. So the transition from Cambridge to the organization where I'm working is was not so smooth as my
Right.
profile would have stated. And some of them definitely it's not my story. I'm just telling my story. Some of them would have made a smoother transition. Some of my colleagues in Cambridge, they made a smoother transition
Mm-hmm.
into the space. But my journey was a little bit. Um, Different because of some of the other challenges which I was facing. For some of my
Right.
colleagues, they got a recommendation from their professor who was connected to an NGO, and they were brought to the interview stage, and they
Mm-hmm.
happened to be good also. So that's how they made a move. But I wasn't able to get those opportunities, and I had to take the this route.
Right.
Yeah.
And right before your time at Street Child, while you were working at the Ministry of Education, what were some of the problems you faced? What did you work on? What was the learning experience like?
Oh, so I used to walk from my place of stay to Ministry of Education in Afghanistan. So it used to be around 2 kilometers. So you don't have. So first of all, I was not fluent in Dari or Pashto, which is the local language.
Hmm.
Uh, so I used to walk because I was always afraid of taking cabs, and
Right.
it was a conflict. Uh, Phase then, right? It was not
Right.
Taliban
Right.
which was ruling then, and there were
Yes.
continuously like suicide bombings and attacks and all happening. So I knew the route, so I used to walk there, and there used to be several checkpoints of the Afghan Defense Forces, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it used to be a totally different experience. Um, so you would find tanks on the road stationed when you are walking every day you will find a tank
Wow.
right in the middle
Wow.
of the road. You will find jeeps, the military jeeps in the sky. So you will find Chinook helicopters airlifting jeeps and taking from one place to another. So all these things used to happen in Kabul, which I wasn't um, uh, aware of. The one great thing which I learned while in Afghanistan was that you will perhaps not find any other country where Indians are valued so much. It's they perceive Afghans perceive India as to be one of the only countries, neighboring countries, which hasn't too much meddled into their affairs
Hmm.
and has only provided good things to them, right? Be it medical emergency treatment in Afghanistan, in India through visas, or scholarships for children, for students in Indian universities. So they are very thankful for it. So when you meet an Afghan soldier or you meet a local Afghan guy on the road, the moment they hear someone speaking in Hindi, or they understand you're from Hindustan, that's all they call. They don't call it Bharat, they call it Hindustan. So they are very happy. There have been instances where, like, when you are being physically frisked, and they get to know that you are from India, they will stop frisking and hug you. So I have had such
Uh,
experiences.
that to start with, sounds very scary. The tanks and the army checkposts. That's something straight out of a movie. And I was just thinking, you've just experienced so much. You've been to work in India, and you've been to London, which is like at another end of the spectrum. Yeah. So in Afghanistan, was there any such interaction that you mentioned that the people are very fond of India? And was there anything, any experience, any interaction that had a lasting impact on you that you still recall?
Oh, yeah. So there were multiple instances. So some of the conversation, one conversation which definitely comes to my mind
Mm-hmm.
is is my conversations with cab drivers. So after the first 1 or 2 months, I was pretty comfortable taking cabs.
Mm-hmm.
So there are no buses in Afghanistan at that point because there's a high risk of buses being like
No, no.
blasted by
Yeah.
Taliban because the non-state armed group there. So only small cabs used to run. The old Toyota Corollas of 1980s,
Mm-hmm.
70s, they are
Right.
still there, right? So when you talk to cab drivers, they will ask you like which is your favorite Hindi actor or actress.
Right.
So you will tell yours, which is the ones which are currently there, or you might even go for a Shah Rukh Khan or someone, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
but when you ask them, for them it is Salman Khan, Preeti Zinta,
Right.
uh, or Sunny Deol, right? And they are because the movies which they are watching right now, like
Mm-hmm.
are the likes of Gadar, right?
Ah, okay.
They haven't seen any movies after that. So movies are banned in Afghanistan by during the Taliban regime. It was banned, and there are some kind of informant restriction. Right now, it's very restricted right now.
Mm-hmm.
So they are very fond of those movies. They
Right.
like Amisha Patel a lot because of
Right.
Gadar. So you are in a totally different
Mm-hmm.
era there, right? So you will not be able to strike a chord with them. Why are they talking about these folks who are
From the 90s, 80s.
yeah, who are not so they still when they talk they'll talk like about this. And the
Mm-hmm.
second thing is that one conversation I was having an argument with one of the Ministry of Education officers,
Mm-hmm.
not a heated argument, general argument about something. And after a point of time he said, you are talking like a particular character,
Mm-hmm.
and that name of the character happened to be an Indian name. So I said, "Who is this person?" So this person is a lady, is a lady character in Kyuki Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahu Thi. Haven't you seen that?
No.
And I was like, I haven't seen the serial at all. So
Mm-hmm.
and this guy went ahead and told me the entire character, the background, the story, right?
Right.
And then I didn't know about this, and then I got to know that how famous is Kyuki Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahu Thi
Mm-hmm.
in in Afghanistan. So
That's funny.
uh, yeah, and they later I got to know that the communities they went against the fatwa issued by Taliban to run Kyuki Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahu Thi. The
Wow.
Taliban issued a fatwa against this serial that it is basically corrupting the minds of Afghans there. But people got so much interested in it that they went against the fatwa. They crowdfunded for the diesel which is required to run the TV because there's no light.
Mm-hmm.
So they used to do all that stuff. So it's a very different country, and it's a
Uh-huh.
lovely place for an Indian to be there and understand what the soft power of India actually feels like. So when
Right.
you're preparing for UPSC, you hear about the soft power of Bollywood and all of that, which
Uh-huh.
I didn't understand then, but you get to feel that when you are in Afghanistan.
That's insane and wholesome in a way. And now coming to what you do at Street Child right now, do you just want to explain what it is that you do? What does your job look like? Which avenues do you work in?
Yeah, so I am currently working with Srichal as an education program advisor, and I'm leading the education portfolio for Afghanistan until recently. Right now, I just completed a secondment in Sierra Leone for Street Child. So in Afghanistan, mostly my work is basically to lead the education portfolio, which basically includes resource mobilization, getting funds for the Afghanistan office, implement education projects, monitor education projects, and also do impact evaluations of education projects. So my
Mm-hmm.
work is mostly basically focusing on improving access to education and ensuring that
Right.
children, Afghan children, are safe in school and learning. And
I see.
towards that end, I have to work with my country project managers. I have to work with the non-state armed group, which is
Mm-hmm.
Taliban, and also work with provincial coordinators who are from street child. Also, there are some level stakeholders such as the education cluster,
Mm-hmm.
which includes cluster leads from UNICEF and Save the
Right.
Children. So we work as a collective to improve access to education across Afghanistan. Yeah, so that's how my work looks like. So yeah, at Street Child, when I was based in Afghanistan, so I was uh, uh, because the region is extremely fragile.
Mm-hmm.
um, we International staff is not allowed to work not allowed to stay outside office. So the office and residence is the same. So
Okay.
I used to stay at the top floor of the office, and the bottom floors used to be
Mm-hmm.
the workspaces. So the movement was restricted. So those movement restrictions also brings puts a toll on your
Of course.
health,
All
and
right.
it becomes a little bit lonely, especially on weekends when
Uh-huh.
there's no one else but you in the entire building. So that's how work
Mm-hmm.
looks like in Afghanistan.
And do you feel that the situation is getting any better, or is it as complex as it has been for a few years now?
Oh yeah, I think after Taliban came to power, things are a lot more what you call peaceful wouldn't be the right word, but in terms of conflicts, like in terms of attacks and
Mm-hmm.
blasts, has come down a lot in Kabul. So for men,
Okay.
it's a lot more peaceful.
Mm-hmm.
If peace is the right kind of word, because peace is generally associated with justice as well. After Taliban came to power, whenever I have been to Afghanistan, you could roam around the city at any point of the day or night. You can go to any part of
Mm-hmm.
Afghanistan without seeking permissions, or without being so much worried about your safety.
Right.
But for women, it's an entirely
Different
different thing.
story.
It's one of the
Yeah.
worst places to be there, and I don't think uh, there is any indication of things improving at this point of time.
Okay.
uh, I believe that if there are some changes in the leadership level of Taliban, there might be some changes, but
Hmm.
until then, I don't expect any improvements.
Right. Okay. That's disheartening to hear, and in a way, a little good that the conflicts have gone down. And so you said you used to work there, and now you've gone to places like West Africa, Sierra Leone, and how has that been like? Is there any difference? How has
Oh yeah, yeah,
this
yeah. Yes.
jump been?
West Africa has been a lot different. As in, it's a
Okay.
Sierra Leone is a country which has moved out of conflict. It's an
Okay.
extremely poor country, and still um, is kind of limping back to normalcy. So I would say, but in terms of it's not a fragile area. It's
Mm-hmm.
not a conflict affected area. And it's an area where it's an English speaking state. As in, most of the
Okay.
people speak Creole, which is kind of a like people who understand English may understand Creole a little bit as well. So it's a good place to work in, but it's also a country which is uh, still kind of, as I said, limping back to normalcy. So all those challenges which you face in low and middle income country, you will face in Sierra Leone. There are no restrictions on women. Women are
Great.
like Yeah, there
Right.
are no like it's they are more, I think, kind of, you wouldn't find any restrictions on them at all. So
Mm-hmm.
for me it has been a cultural shock. Like I
Mm-hmm.
cannot expect to shake hands with a woman in with an Afghan lady
Uh,
in Afghanistan, right?
mm,
And here you would find women like uh, hug
yeah.
men during trainings, right?
Right.
Uh, Men whom they met on that particular day,
Right.
right? So, and for me, it was a cultural shock, not because,
Obviously.
yeah, because I have been working in Afghanistan for such a long time.
Right.
So every day I'm supposed to behave in a particular way,
Right.
and suddenly I'm being hugged by people whom I don't even know, right? So that's a kind um, of a cultural shock. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was a great experience. It also I was basically sent as a uh, on an advisory basis. Like I was supposed to go there and advise the Sierra Leone team.
Okay.
So it basically, I was not there responsible for direct implementation, but rather I was
Mm-hmm.
supposed to sit at the sidelines and provide support. So that was
Right.
a different kind of role because you had limited authority to bring changes. You only had
Mm-hmm.
your what you call advisory capacity to influence them
Right.
and bring some effective change. So it required a different kind of skill sets, which I
Mm-hmm.
am trying to develop now.
That's awesome. And just as you're finishing, based on your unique journey across various fields and the impact that you've made in like various countries, various organizations, what advice or key takeaways would you share with the current students at BITS and other universities to help them navigate their own paths through this process and to provide to back to the society?
Yeah, so I would like so for me it's a unique pathway, right? And I believe
Uh,
everyone will have their own unique pathways. There's no like secret recipe here,
mm-hmm,
but yeah, anyone who wants to work in the development sector, like there are it's an extremely satisfying space for me. Like there are definitely every day you will be frustrated, especially when you're
mm-hmm,
working with some external stakeholders, especially like governments of the day. But at the end of the day, you will find it extremely satisfying, and that has been my case for current Bitsians who would like to work in this space. Definitely, as I said, make a quicker transition to the development sector.
mm-hmm,
Uh, that would definitely be helpful, and please watch out for fellowships, which would help you smoothen that transition
right,
from industry to the development sector. And yeah, and don't go by so much of media reports. Try to
mm-hmm,
work in some of the most difficult spaces, and that definitely will give you a spectrum level perspective, both
mm-hmm,
from a technical angle and from what you call your field level experience. So
right,
do try to take on those roles which not many are willing to take
mm-hmm,
now, and it's easier to take that in your early years of your career than later. So if you are making a switch, try to make a switch sooner, and
mm-hmm,
try to take up roles which are more challenging, which requires you to work in some of the toughest places, because I think the development sector needs people who have field experiences, who have had prior experience
uh-huh,
working with government in some of the toughest locations, who
mm-hmm,
can bring in some insider perspective on how to bring system level changes, how
mm-hmm,
to transform this space at a system level. And those experiences definitely will also help you take your career from one level to next. Happy to help any Bitsian who would like
right,
to contact me to drill down on this
yeah,
further. I would be happy to share my experiences.
that means a
Here.
lot. Yeah, thank you, sir. And as we wrap up, we'd love to know if you're planning to visit the campus anytime soon, maybe for the reunion next month for the 2005 batch. And we're sure that the current students would love to meet you in person, hear your stories. So, anything there?
Right now, no, and I'm still waiting to hear back from my colleagues at Street Child. So I
Right?
might be, yeah, I might be deployed to another country.
Okay.
Yeah, but happy to in case there is a in case
Uh-huh.
my fellow citizens want to meet me at any time, would be happy to see whether that would be possible. Right, I would be happy to be back and go and have a session there.
And whenever you're free, we would love to host you. Please reach out to us. Come back to campus. I'm sure everyone wants to meet you. And thank you so much for joining us today. We truly admire your incredible work and all the noble work you've done across countries and organizations, helping thousands of children in Afghanistan. You're an inspiration to all of us, all of the BITS alumni, and we look up to you. Thank you for your time, your insights, which are very valuable to us. And this is what we want to do with the podcast. Let everyone know what the alumni is doing, especially people like you who have gone off engineering and provided back to the society something meaningful. And I think that's what we've achieved today. So thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ansh, Iris, and Ananya for your time, and thanks for all those questions. I'm sure that a lot more assistance could be provided to fellow business. I'd be happy to help them because I didn't have lot many support on this side of things. Yeah, and I because and we were a young college, and there was only
Yeah, yeah.
one much more senior to us, so there was not much of a network at that time. But yeah, I think the current batch and yeah, and your juniors would definitely benefit from some of these experiences which we had. So yeah, please feel free to provide my contact details to anyone who would love to
Sure.
engage further on this.
This means the world to us. Thank you so much.